Hey guys, and welcome to another video. And today I'm going to show you the runes that I've changed on my units from the recent rune removal event, and also just the new units, because last month it took me about an hour to do all of the runes, and I think it's a bit much. And since you already have like a reference for my runes before, I'm gonna skip all the units that didn't really change much, right? So there'll be some units where like there's only a couple of runes changed. Overall, the stats are basically the same, so I won't touch on those, but I will touch on the new units that I've built recently, and also the ones that I did a complete overhaul on their runes. Okay, so the first one we have today is Kanamiya. Recently leveled him up to 6 star, and so these are his stats. I've been using him in Guild Wars offense along with my Wind Monkey and Kuma, and he's there just to cleanse, give the slowest unit more turns, and he can randomly stun stuff as well. I was trying him in a Guild Wars defense along with my Rune and Fuel Mars. I did get it synced up to where like Fuel Mars will move first, Kanamiya will research Fuel Mars, and then Fuel Mars will move again, and then Rune will use Rabbit's agility to let Fuel Mars move a third time, right? So in addition to violent procs, the idea was that the team allowed Fuel Mars to just go nuts and, you know, at least hopefully take out one guy, you know, maybe even two guys. I don't know how effective it was because I didn't really see it in action. I got some wins, but a lot of draws. So that was telling me that Fuel Mars was trading himself with the enemy damage dealer, and then it came down to supports versus supports, and therefore I decided to take him off defense and change it back to something else. Right, I've been testing out some different combinations, but I do like him a lot in Guild Wars offense, so definitely don't regret building him this way. Next up, Ariel. I did a complete overhaul of his runes. So the reason I've built him the way I have is because I don't really use him in PvE very much anymore. I'm using Chasun as my main healer for, like, you know, autoing through a TOA and stuff. Originally I used Ariel more, but Chasun's doing the job just fine, so I decided that I would try to make Ariel purely for AD purposes. So he's on a double Nemesis Will build, so you know, this is like a very like a trap defense type build, and the idea is that when people bring AoE, especially if they bring Lucians, then after taking the first wave of AoE, Ariel should move in between between the first nuker and the second nuker, and therefore he should interrupt the combo by doing his AoE heal on everyone. I'm not sure how effective this was either, and I might just switch him back to Violent so that I can use him in Guild Wars offense. But yeah, this is like an experiment, and I mean, in theory I think it's fine, but yeah, I haven't really seen it in practice, so I might just change it back and come up with, like, I have some ideas on different ADs that I want to test out. So yeah, this might change next either next week if I buy a rune removal pack, or next month when the next rune removal event comes along. Alright, so Orion, I have also changed him. I think he used to be on Violent Will, and I changed him back to Swift Will. This is because the original team I built him around was Kuma and Veromos, right, along with Orion. I didn't really like that team that much on defense. It wasn't really getting me much success. I think it's because a lot of people are sort of figuring out how to beat it, and also I think maybe my Kuma's not fast enough to keep up. I think you really need a good, like really high quality Kuma to make this team work very well, and I just didn't think mine was good enough for it. So I put him on Will so that in instances where people bring Leo against my composition, then he can't reduce my my Orion's attack bar on, well, when I have him on defense. And yeah, so I just try to make him as fast as possible, keeping that in mind. I've made a second Rune, as you can see. This is the first one. These are the stats, and basically I'm trying out Nemesis as an offset, like for when if I were to use her in a Guild Wars offense setting. I think because she's such a slow unit, Nemesis helps her a lot. Well, like, I mean, I didn't give her like as much speed substats, and I don't really want to give her high quality speed subsets anyway, because I don't feel it's really worthwhile for a unit that I'm not going to use very much. So I just gave her, you know, like these tanky runes that not many other units are going to use, and you know, just trying to max out her resist. I gave her will as well, so that it's a bit more annoying on AD. And also, if I bring her on offense, it's nice to have will runes, because you know you could use this to tank Sierra. You know, since she's very slow, she's not gonna remove her will rune too early, and Sierra will try to bomb her for sure, right? And as long as she's got will rune, she's not gonna take much damage. If she gets crit, the shield will pop up, and by the time you know, your will rune runs out, at least you should have a shield up, and it makes it harder for the Sierra to keep bombing her. It's not 100% foolproof. You know, eventually Sierra will probably go nuts and, you know, get you eventually. Although 100% resist does help, you know, mitigate the amount of times she's gonna bomb you, depending on her accuracy. But yeah, this is like an alternative, since you know not everyone has a chroma like I do. So you know, I use a chroma to counter Sierras. Other people might use either the Rina or the Light Golem. So this is a way you can build Rina if you need her to tank Sierra. And this is the second Rina. Basically, I'm aiming for the same sort of stats, as much HP defense as possible, and then max resist. This one is on Will Revenge, and yeah, Will is for the same reason as the previous one, just to make her annoying when you try to attack her on AD. And Revenge is more beneficial for her if she's not transmogged, because the reason to have Revenge on her is it just takes up time, because you know her attack animation is very slow when she's not transmogged. When she's transmogged, her attack animation is actually quite fast. And unfortunately, I don't think there's a way for me to untransmog her. So Revenge is not as useful for me, but for other people, you know, you probably find that, you know, if you're gonna just use her on AD, it's nice to just not transmog her and put it on Revenge, just so that she just delays the opponent that extra bit of time. Every second counts in rush hour, so the more you can delay them, the better. Okay, I actually redid my Sigmaris as well. The reason is because I completely changed my Dragons team back to like a slow 2-minute team. Previously, last month, I built a team that was about 1 minute average, but the team was a bit unreliable, and so for that reason, I rebuilt my Sig for Dragons B10. I put him on Violent, and it's allowed my runs to be a lot more safer, or at least I've found it to be a lot safer. I haven't failed any Dragons B10 runs yet, whereas before, when it used to be on Rage, the run can fail occasionally. Very rare, but it did happen like every so often, maybe once every 5 or so refills. So it's quite rare. And there's no real reason I'm using the guard set other than no one else is using it right now, and it's got good substats. You know, it helps me reach like my goal of being semi-tanky-ish and 100% crit rate. I think there's only minor changes for Galleon and Field Mars and Purian. Stella, I completely redid her too. So she used to be on my Speed Dragons team, right? And she was on Violent because In my opinion, on a speed run, you want Violet to help mitigate, like resist, because things like defense break from Stella, you can't really afford it to miss. Because for me, she's her like a backup for my Galleon, who might also fail on defense break. So having the extra unit there to defense break, it helps a lot, and they're both on Violet, so to make sure that I have as many chances as possible to defense break the boss. Otherwise, it's going to take too long to kill them, and then that's what causes teams to wipe on it. But because I'm not using that team anymore for dragons, I rebuilt her specifically for R5, and for that reason I put her back on Swift, so that way her speed, I believe, is fast enough to do 7 hits on her the third skill, and this also, I believe she's also tankier than she was on Violent, and since she's not on Violent, she's not proccing as many turns, therefore like my turns are more efficient. My turn usage is a bit more efficient. I mean, it's not bad for her to have more turns to do more damage, but I don't want the boss to stun me too often. Otherwise, that's what's going to cause my team to fail. And she's a bit tankier. As I said, she's a bit tankier than before. Her crit rate is a bit too high because I usually use Hua Leader for crit rate, so she's actually a bit over, but well, the runes, even if I drop her crit rate, I couldn't really get her to have more crit damage or any other stats, so I just left it as it is. Alright. Varad, even though there was a big change to his skill kit, I haven't actually redid his runes, just to keep a note. I will be trying to change his runes though in the future. Okay, this is a new. Oh wait, this is a new unit as well. This is my second Galleon. I'm trying to build this as a. I'm going to build him as a tank, right? To replace my, or not really replace, but in certain instances where I want a tank Galleon, I can use that instead of my YOLO Galleon, right? Which is my first Galleon. Originally, I was going to build him to use in a like sort of slowish one-move combo with like Pump Bake and Tosi, but I mean I tested that team out and it wasn't to my liking yet. I'm gonna readjust it in the future. I think my team just needs to be a bit faster, right? Because at the moment it's sort of built around being 150 speed, but I think it still needs to be a bit faster than that to compete. And also need to redo some runes. I need to give my units more shield runes to survive things like Field Mars on AD. But I probably will change him. Like if I can't get the slow AO to work, I'm gonna change him back to like some sort of like speed tanky build. Something like speed, HP, accuracy, or something like that. And that way I can use him in HOH, as well as even TLA. When the YOLO one doesn't cut it, he's too squishy to speed it up. Yep, and as I was saying, this is a new unit, Bastet. I actually got her like a couple months ago, but I never built her because I didn't really have a use for her at the time. I didn't really want to invest the Devilmon into her just for raids. This is pretty much all I use her for, is for raids, right? And it's ideal for her to have the extra harmful effect rate on at least on these two skills, but I haven't put in the Devilmon for it yet. I think I'm still deciding where I'm going to put my next lot of Devilmon in, or whether I just save it up for the my next game-changing Net 5 maybe. But I'm using her just as a defense leader when I'm absolutely desperate, right? If someone else in my raid can use defense leader, it's preferable for me personally, because she gives my team a lot, like in terms of contribution, right? I have to sacrifice a defense, an attacker, in order to put her in. But as I said, I did build her just for raids, so she's on double revenge nemesis. Ideally, she would be on triple revenge, but I didn't have enough revenge runes to make her or actually I just didn't have any slot 6 I believe in Triple Revenge, so I had to give her a different set for the third one, and I decided on Nemesis because it's probably the most ideal utility set, right? I mean, I could always use Guard or Energy for extra stats, but I didn't really need the stats, so yeah, I put her on Nemesis for that. And obviously Double Revenge is so that she, you know, it's a free hit, and she can reapply attack debuff with that as well. And that's why I would like her, if I was going to use her as a main, I would like her to have the first skill maxed. But ideally she wouldn't be my first choice of a defense leader. I would prefer to have the Fire Monkey. Not that I have one yet, but you know, in the future I might get one. You know, you never know. And if that happens, I would be pretty upset to put Devilmon into her. Okay, so Rauk changed a little bit, enough for me to discuss him. So he's gained some, like he gains stats overall, like everything. He gained a bit more HP, a bit more, I believe a bit more attack, but definitely more crit damage. And I try my best to improve them because, or both Rauks, to make my Necro team more stable. Okay, so basically there's less chance for my Rauks to die during the trash waves. Previously, you know, they have like a decent chance to die, and that would make it risky once I get to the boss, because I have one less unit to attack him with, right, and break the shield and do damage, of course. So I try to make him a bit more resilient so that he doesn't die too often. He still dies occasionally, but you know, overall, like, my fail rate has decreased, so I'm still happy. Even though I do fail occasionally, it's good enough that I don't have to slow down my team or anything like that. But yeah, it's still a continuous work in progress. I still want to make them a bit more tankier and more better damage as well, so that I don't have any failures later on. I did do some minor changes to Chloe. So her stats are roughly the same as before, but I took her off Destroy. Previously she had Destroy instead of Endure, but I didn't need the Destroys anymore because I used to pair her up with Kuma, right? Or I do pair her up with Kuma, and my Kuma at the moment is on Destroy, so I don't need the Destroy runes on her anymore. So I took those off and decided to give her, you know, to improve her stats. And the Endure set gives her good speed. Like, I think her speed is improved by about 10, and then she gets more resist as well, which is nice. Spectra I completely reworked too. He used to be on Violent for Dragon's B10, but now I'll put him back on Swift just for TOA. Okay. I think ideally I still would maybe put him on a damage like hybrid sort of thing. Maybe give him crit rate slot 4, just so that I can still maybe test him out sometimes. Like, you know, in Dragons, you know, if I was trying to try something else, you know, other than my safe team. Maybe I'll change that in the future. But yeah, his slot 4 rune is a defense rune because it's got the best stats on it, it's got the fastest speed, and I mean, it doesn't really matter too much what the main stat on it is, so that's why I don't mind changing it back to crit if I can find a good crit rate rune with good speed on it. Okay, I also reworked my Verd, you know, in addition to, you know, changing my team back to a safe Dragons team. I needed to make my Verd tankier so that he doesn't die too easily. He does die occasionally to bad RNG on the crystals, but it's not that often, and even if he dies, the rest of my team still can push through. Right? I mean, I'm uncertain whether I can just take him out of my team, because like if I can take him out of my team, that would mean that I can add an extra DPS that could speed up my run, which I might test, you know, at some point. But he does, you know, he does give the speed lead, which is quite big as well. So I don't know if it's more beneficial for him to be, you know, in the team or not, which I guess I'll test. But worst case scenario, he's still here as a tanky guy, and you know, I know guaranteed that team is a 2-minute team that's, or it can be a bit faster if RNG permits. But yeah, it's very safe. That's why I'm sticking with it for the time being, because I do not like failed runs. I feel it's a bit of a waste of my energy and crystals. So yeah, that's why I changed it back. Hua got a little bit of an upgrade. Her runes aren't really too much different, but she's got a bit more speed now. She still can grind a couple more speed slots, even though the base speed on those runes aren't very high. So I'm just waiting for, you know, blue quality runes, so I don't waste the hero quality runes, you know, on those particular slots. But yeah, she can definitely get back up to, like, you know, 210 plus, maybe 215-ish, depending. If I can find similar quality runes but with more speed, that would be ideal. But she's working pretty well the way she is. And she's got max crit with her own leader skill, so that's why she's at 81% exact. Colleen, I changed because she used to be on double revenge, but I changed her back to violent revenge, and these are her stats, and she's built purely for raid. And I changed her back to violent revenge because I found that my team was a bit unstable with her not being on violent, and there was many times where I'm watching the fight and I'll be like, man, is she violent at that point? My team wouldn't have died. So I just put it back on violent revenge so that, you know, my team still has enough healing, you know, that way. I might not necessarily need her to be on violent revenge anymore, but I think it's safer to leave her like that way. I actually don't mind her getting extra turns because all her moves are good to have on the boss. Right? It's good to have the attack break, heal block, and healing is never bad. Now, Freya is a new unit that I built, or I recently 6-starred. I've just given her really random, like, spare runes for the time being. Alright, so my goal was to get her to at least 50% resist. I think ideally she could go to 100%. That way, if you put her in the team, you don't have to have her as the leader to get max resist, but 50% is absolute minimum. That way, you can put her as the leader and she'll have max resist. And the reason to have max resist is because for the third skill, right, if they happen to have Tiana or some sort of buff removal to get rid of your will runes, and then they have Zyros or a Water Fairy King Samath to reset your cooldown, then she won't heal everyone like she's meant to, right? That's the whole point of bringing a Freya onto AD, is to heal up the rest of your really tanky units, you know, to outlast the opponent's wombo combo. So having max resist gives that extra RNG where they could get resisted, and then she'll heal up your team, and then they're like, oh damn, you know, I just spoiled my whole plan. And along the same lines, that's why she's on will runes. I think Endure is nice for her just to help her reach a good amount of resist, because usually, I mean, at least for me, I don't really keep high resist runes very often unless the other stats are pretty decent. And yeah, so I would ignore the 2, 4, and 6 runes that I have on her. They're just really random stuff. You want her to die, so you don't want her to make her too tanky, and you also, I would say, you don't want to make her too fast. That way she wastes her will rune too early. So I mean, a little bit of speed is fine, but you don't need to make her super fast, because as soon as they bring a slow AOO and they let your Freya run first, then they can easily reset you, and they don't even need to bring a buff remover anymore. So having a slow one, I think, is better, or at least like not too fast. You know, something like below, or yeah, 150 is still a bit fast for me, in my opinion. So you know, something maybe 140 at the maximum is probably a good spot to leave it at. Shiwa got a bit of a rework. I think her crit damage increased a fair bit. It used to be quite low, but other than that, her general build is about the same. So let's go through this real quick. And yeah, the idea was to make her a bit more tankier and at the same time she got a bit of extra damage to help speed up the run a little bit more, on average at least. Alright, this is my Kuma. So Kuma lost some crit rate and then gained some speed. I think he gained a little bit of HP as well, and also maybe defense, so he's quite tanky now, and decently fast. Well, it's not super fast, but for Beast Monk it's pretty decent. And he's on Violent Destroy, like I mentioned earlier. And the reason to run Destroy is, my theory was that as a Beast Monk, like that can self heal, he can his fights will take a fair while. So, but as a Beast Monk also, they don't necessarily do enough damage to kill everyone, especially when they have something like a Chasun in their team to heal up really easily. Therefore, having Destroy helps those long drawn out games, right? That way it sort of helps avoid getting into situations where the opponent can just tank you out and draw if they lost their DPS or something like that. So this puts more pressure on their healers, and it allows it, because Beast Monks, they're not built for super high damage. They're quite tanky. Well, mine's quite tanky, right? He does like a good steady amount of damage, and then if I can drop their max HP by, I believe it's 40% from the Destroy runes, then it's quite a lot easier for him to kill them through defense break from my Monkey King or his dots, right, from his first skill. And then I think it's a good combination with his heal block as well, because you put a lot of pressure on their health, right? You reduce their maximum health, and you also make it harder for them to heal back up. So I think Kuma on Destroy, so far I've been pretty impressed with it. I've been liking using him on Destroy. Not only for as like a really annoying GD, but also for Guild Wars offense. It helps a lot when there's things like Praha who heal for like heaps of health, and I can't land a heal block. Then at least I'm reducing the amount of healing she's doing because of the Destroy. I think these units are all unchanged. This one actually I changed her, I believe. I think she was a bit more well, she used to be like a damage healer for me, but ever since I got Samath, I decided to rebuild her. I haven't actually used her yet for AD, but I probably will test her out a bit. But I built her on like a tanky violent will build. I don't know how good it is, and she's just like semi-tanky. A bit of speed on her as well. I haven't really tried her out, but I will probably try her out in some sort of combination, which I haven't really decided on yet, but I'll see. And that last rune here is very like spare. Eventually I want to sell that rune, but I just don't have enough violent runes to get to a point where I'm selling like things that I've already put the mana into to max out. As I said, for the second Rauk, this one I changed, so he's got more HP, more crit damage, because I believe he used to be below 100% crit damage, so now he's above it, and yeah, they both do a lot more damage now. And I generally find the run a lot safer. My Lisa did not get any rune changes, but she did get a lot of grindstone upgrades, I believe. So I think she's a bit tankier now, and her speed has improved to the point where she's at 230, which is quite good, I believe, for a violent build. And she's still on speed, defense. I use it in the front line, and yeah, basically I gave her a couple of speed grindstones to boost her up in speed. Rune, I rebuilt. I think I had him last month, but I gave him spare runes at the time, and now I rebuilt him to go along with Filmar's and Konomiya. But I probably will change him again since I'm not using that team anymore for guild defense. So he's going to be reworked again probably next time I do rune removal. either next week if I have time, or next month. And I just basically want to make him a bit faster. Because I want to get his speed up to just below field bars. So because I'm trying to hit him on 80 now, which is soon, which is working a bit better. And I think he just needs to be a bit faster to move just after field bars. There's quite a big gap at the moment because I had to keep his speed to allow him to move in the order I wanted him to move before. Alright, all these units are unchanged. The first illusion is unchanged, but the second illusion is changed, so I'll get to that in a second. I think Brian got a bit of a change as well, because I had to move some runes around, but I think he's a bit faster than he used to be, and there's still a couple runes that need to be grinded, so I'm trying to farm up grindstones to do that, and then that way he should be quite a lot faster, almost as fast as my field Mars, and which will be pretty nice if he's that fast. I mean, sometimes the speed is a detriment because the enemy field Mars might be on will runes and slower than even my Brian, and therefore it's a bit awkward because I can't actually debuff him. But I think Speedy Brian still overall is very good. So I'm at a point where I don't feel there's much point in gimping his speed. He's already pretty tanky as is, so yeah, I'll probably will just finish grinding up his stats when I can, when I'm able to. Orochi, I did a complete overhaul as well. I only use him in Giant Speed 10, but I had spare violent runes that no one was really using, so I decided, well, I could get him to like a pretty fast sort of build, decently tanky as well, and with max crit rate and max accuracy. So I thought, why not put him on violent, in that case. So I mean, this rune might be used for someone else in the future because it's got good crit rate, but at the moment no one's using it. Now Orochi obviously does not have to be violent, it's just that I had the runes for it, so I thought might as well. But yeah, if you don't have violent, you can use any set you want really. Swift works, Fatal works, mixture broken sets will work too. So don't have to copy this. All these units didn't really have much change. My Wuchi and Mav got some changes, but I barely use them, so I'm not gonna bother showing them. They're only for TOA anyway. My Monkey King got some changes, so same idea as my Kuma. I built him to be sort of a hybrid, so he's a lot tankier. I think he's about similar tankiness to, actually no, previously he was on 2 attack runes, but I changed 1 attack rune for a HP rune, so he's tankier than before. And then combined with his passive, he shouldn't die too easily, right? If I can find a better HP rune with good attack substats, I might actually switch that eventually. That way he'll have double HP, and then he'll be even tankier. But I don't want to skimp too much on his attack, because I still want him to have decent attack, so that he can do some damage, right? But even on like a double HP build, he still does some decent damage, especially considering I'm using Destroy now. I don't need him to have super high damage in a long drawn out battle. Once their HP gets destroyed, it's much easier for my Monkey King to take them out, right? With like a couple of violent procs or revenge procs. Revenge being his passive, not like a natural set. And so far I've been quite happy using Destroy on him and also Kuma, and I think it synergizes pretty decent with Xingjie. I think that's supposed to be how you pronounce it, and it's because his passive means he can poke people that attack your other guys, right? So being able to destroy at the same time gives him a bit of additional utility. A bit of additional utility, because not only is he can stun them, but he can also destroy some HP and do some damage, right? I think it's pretty synergetic. Alright, my second Lucian I changed a bit. His crit rate's not up to standard yet. I still need to bump him up to 70%. Hopefully I can find some runes to get him that way. But the main thing was that he's at a good amount of speed compared to my first Lucian, and I changed him to Rage, so that now I have 2 Rage Lucians, for like high crit, the high crit damage. Obviously, he's a bit unreliable because of the lower crit rate, but I will try to find a rune to fix that, hopefully. And his damage is pretty good because there's a lot of good attack substats on this set, as well as the crit damage. Then the third Lucian, he basically got the best broken sets from before, so he's basically kind of similar to the previous, my second Lucian from before, like last month. He got a lot of the runes that I took off from him, but it's a bit more improved because I believe the crit damage is a bit higher than the second Lucian from a month ago. Right, and I only bring him in when I'm using triple Lucian with Megan as the attack buffer and attack bar booster. So that team's used for slow teams where I know Megan's going to be the fastest unit on the field, or against Leos. Okay. Iona got a bit of a change, I believe, because a lot of her old runes got moved to other units, and I had to rebuild her a bit. But she's still relatively fast, and on triple HP, so she's quite tanky and decently fast. And she can still get more improvements because she's got a lot of ungrinded substats, which I will have to try to fix once I can find some more grindstones, right? The violent grindstones elude me, immensely. It's a major pain. All of these units didn't really get changed. I believe my silver is a bit buffed from before. Most of it is from grindstones, but I think a couple of runes might have changed from before. Generally, he's a bit more tankier now. He has a bit more HP. I think a bit more defense too, because I grinded a lot of HP and defense substats. And he's doing pretty well in my raid team. He doesn't do quite as much as Stella does, but he makes the run a lot safer. So I give up a bit of contribution for safety, because he sits in the front row instead of Colleen to make it safer. And yeah, my team hardly ever dies when I use him in it. Aria, I think I've changed since last time I showed you guys. So previously she would have been on like a spare Swift set because I didn't have the mana to move stuff around at the time. But now I changed it to Despair just for TOA hard. So I find her pretty nice as like an auto unit. But she doesn't have like a high priority, because even though like she's really good in TOA hard, she kind of fights for the slot with Varad, and because Varad got a buff as well, suddenly now I have a choice between the two, and I think Varad is a bit better because he's tankier, and his CC is like equally as good as what Aria does for her CC. I mean, it's different kind of CC, but both of them reduce my damage taken a lot. Diaz I overhauled as well because he used to be on like a damage build, but now I changed him to make him faster and a bit tankier. So I can probably give up a bit of tankiness to make him a bit do a bit more damage by giving him a bit of crit rate. And I'll see whether I'm testing this out. So far I'm liking it because he never dies for sure. He's like definitely one of the last ones to die because he's so tanky. And I put him on triple revenge now. I think he used to be on double revenge, but yeah, triple revenge just means he's gonna counter a lot more and give my team like a lot more free attacks and more heal block chances as well, especially because he's fast. I think being fast on DS is a nice luxury if you can afford to do it, because the more you can put the debuff up, the less chance the boss is going to heal, right? Because you don't want the boss to heal, otherwise it's going to take you a long time to kill him. Alright, we're almost done. The Veramos, I also redid him a bit. I basically improved his runes because I scavenged a lot of Ariel's old violent runes. So a lot of my units like Veramos, who previously were quite slow, got a bit of an upgrade from that. I still want to make him a little bit faster, but I'll probably do that by grinding a couple of the violent runes if I can get the grindstones for it. Right, so if I can get a hero speed one that I can spare to him, then that would push him up to 214, right? Because currently he's at 211, so he'll be at least 214. And if I can do that, he'll be one speed faster than my Field Mars, and that way they will be synced again, right? Because it's been a long time since I synced Veramos to my Field Mars. I don't really use them together much, but it gives me the option to do that. And I also redid Betta's runes, so now she's one speed, or actually she's 2 speed lower than my Field Mars, but I had to make it 2 speed below, because if I put it at 1 speed below, she'll move before my Field Mars will move, because her base speed is much higher than my Field Mars. So I dropped her down to 2 below, and that way she moves straight after my Field Mars. So this is really great on offense, because my Field Mars is on will, right? So he'll move first, or typically will move first unless there's something faster on the opposing team, and then Betta will move straight after that. And that way she can put up the anti-crit and immunity onto my Field Mars, and that protects him. You know, it makes a lot easier to survive the return fire from an enemy Field Mars. And my Field Mars doesn't waste the turns, because if you buff before Field Mars moves, like sure you get the immunity and protect him before he gets the move, but if he's got will runes already, he doesn't really need that protection, and he can waste that buff by violent proccing, right? So making Betta move straight after Field Mars, I think is a bit better, because it protects him after he moves. And that is it for all the major changes. So I hope you guys enjoyed this update. I will do another update next month, of course, unless there's a lot of changes the next time. If I buy the Rune Removal Pack sometime this month, if there's a lot of the changes, I'll make a short video on that. But otherwise, I hope this helps you guys, give you some ideas on how to rune your monsters. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.